I'm pleased to say I'm joined by the former World Championship semi-finalist Jamie Lewis. Jamie, thank you very much for the time. How are you doing?
Good, thank you, mate. And how are yourself?
Doing all right, and as I say, thanks for the time. And we'll start off with the PDC Home Tour. A couple of weeks now since you played on the very first night and finishing top of the group. You must have been pleased with how it went for you on that opening night.
Yeah, I was really chuffed. Obviously, playing on the home tour is a lot different to when you play normally. I wasn't quite sure what to expect, but to be fair, I really enjoyed the night, and obviously to top the group as well was a bonus. I'm looking forward to the next stage of it now. Yeah.
What's your sort of practice routine in usual times? Do you play with anyone else? Do you just play yourself on your own board, or what's your usual practice regime you do?
Yeah, I normally just play by myself. I've got a few mates that live around me that obviously like to play darts with decent players as well, so sometimes I'll meet up with them. But mainly for the week, I suppose I'll just have a few hours here and there in the house and that, and just obviously get prepared for tournaments. Obviously it's a bit different now at the minute with what's going on, but I'm just trying to practice as much as I can really, and keep the arm going.
And there was a lot of eyes on that first night of the home tour that you played in, over 300,000 at one point watching the games. Were you aware of just how many people might be watching? Because a lot of people were looking for darts to watch, weren't they, during this lockdown?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I didn't really know it was that many. I wasn't too sure how many would be tuning in, but I kind of knew there'd be a lot because it was the first night. And I was quite nervous, to be fair. It's probably one of the most nerve-wracking I've been, really. It was just as nervous as playing on stage, so it was quite weird. I was going up to my spare room and nervous.
And you were the first guys to play, and obviously a new thing that the PDC are doing. But how did that process work for you, being picked for the very first night?
I'm not too sure. The PDC obviously sent everyone an email out with the plans of what they were going to do over the 32 nights, and they just kind of asked everyone to just tell them when they were available, really, and I kind of put my name down for any night that was available. I'm not too sure how they did the draw. I don't know if they picked it out of the hat, or I don't know how they did it, but I had an email then saying I was on the first night, and it was I think it was a couple of days before it started. But yeah, I really enjoyed the night. It was good fun. It was nice to, even though you're not playing someone in person, it was still nice to play against someone, somehow. Although it was over kind of the phone, it was still good.
Definitely, and still only 28, but you've been around a little while now. You got your tour card in the PDC back in 2012, but just going back to the start for you in darts, how did it all begin?
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing since I can remember. Really. My parents had a pub, so I think I was always going to end up in darts or pool or something like that, because I'd come home from school and that's all I'd do is play darts and pool. So, I was kind of a bit better at darts, and my dad was a decent player as well. He played for Wales himself in the BDO system and stuff. So I kind of just used to start following him around and go into tournaments with him, and kind of gradually got better, really, and that's kind of how it all started.
And as a teenager, you start to play BDO events, you're making some decent runs, and in terms of the youth events as well, getting to big finals, and 2009 winning the World Masters Youth, winning the World Youth Cup as well. What are your memories of that time, picking up some big youth titles?
Yeah, that 2009 I remember a lot, because it was obviously a brilliant year. I won the World Cup Youth and the World Masters, and I also lost in the final of the European Cup Youth as well. So I could have potentially won all three, but that was kind of the peak of my youth career that year. That's when I really started to play well, and that's kind of when that's the kind of point where I thought that I could kind of take darts a bit more seriously. And from then on, I kind of put more effort into it, and obviously I did a couple of years on the BDO circuit going round the tournaments, and then decided to give the PDC a go. Then went to Q school. Luckily, got my card the fourth day, but it was my first attempt at Q school. And yeah, I haven't looked back since. I'm hoping I never have to go back to Q school, but I'm kind of down there a bit in the rankings now, so I need to start doing a bit better when things go back to normal.
Come on to the Q school in a moment. Just want to touch on really what turned out to be the final days for you in the BDO. You played the World Masters, had a good run there, and you mentioned your dad there playing for Wales. You had a great run for Wales, the World Cup singles, getting to the semi-finals. How special a moment was that for you to represent Wales and have such a good run as well?
Yeah, that was another great moment for me getting to the semis. I think I lost. I can't remember who I lost. I think I lost to Martin Adams in the semis. It was either Martin Adams or Scott Waite. I can't remember which one now, but I remember playing it because it was me on one side and Wayne Warren was in the semis of the other. so it could have been an all-Welsh final, but I think we both ended up losing. But yeah, obviously to play for your country is a great honour. I had some great memories playing for Wales in the BDO, obviously through the World Cup and the 12-man squad as well. And that kind of pushed me on, really. So it gave me that stage experience as well, which obviously helped when I moved across to the PDC.
You touched on going to Q School, getting your tour card at the first attempt, but at that age, 20, what was the sort of thinking process behind that? Were you just keen to go over to the PDC straight away?
Yeah, I kind of hadn't planned on going over, but then things sort of happened, and there was a chance for me to go to Q School, and there was a couple of my mates, Ross Smith, Joe Murnan, who I was obviously quite close to in the BDO, well, still am now. They were going to Q School as well, and I kind of went at the same time as them. I wasn't really expecting much, to be honest. I kind of went there mainly for experience, and I did well the first couple of days, I think that then I had one bad day the third day, and then on the fourth day I got through automatically, and yeah, I was obviously over the moon at the time, and it was good because Ross and Joe both got through as well, so I think all three of us had a good weekend that weekend.
Yeah, definitely did. And you were on the tour then as a 20-year-old, playing on the PDC Pro Tour, obviously at that age as well, still playing the youth events as well on the PDC circuit. But what was it like, your early times really playing on the PDC Pro Tour?
Yeah, I mean, it was quite surreal. I remember the first tournament I played, it was actually in Benidorm, the first PDC tournament I played, and there was a Pro Tour there. And obviously when you walk in and you're seeing players that you normally see on the TV playing on boards next to you, it was kind of a bit odd. It kind of took me a little while to adjust. To be honest, I was a bit starstruck when I first started. But obviously then the more you go on and the more you end up playing these players and stuff, you kind of just get used to it. And as I say, it's been a long time since I got my card now, but I've loved every minute of the PDC, and hopefully I'll have a lot more years to continue.
Yeah, and looking at that first year on the tour, it was actually performances on the youth tour which got you into Ali Pali at the end of the year, World Championship debut. You won a couple of youth events to qualify. What do you remember about that first appearance of what was going to be quite a few appearances? It's turned out to be playing in the biggest tournament there is in darts.
Yeah, the first, I mean, I love Ali Pali anyway, but the first experience was obviously, I was really nervous leading up to it. I was obviously in the prelim round as well the first time I qualified, which was only best of 7 legs at the time as well, so it was obviously a short format. So I wasn't, the first time I didn't really, not that I didn't enjoy it, but I wasn't comfortable playing. I was really nervous and stuff, but I think it kind of helped me then for the future times when I went back the following year. I was kind of a bit more prepared and kind of knew what to expect. And obviously since then I've had some good memories at the Ali Pali, but it's a brilliant venue, and obviously it's the World Championships as well, which is the big one everyone wants to be in and everyone wants to do well in. So yeah, I just love playing there, to be honest.
Yeah, we'll come on to some of those memories in a moment, but as you're continuing to progress in the PDC, you're making bigger tournaments as well as the World Match Play. Of course, you played in the World Cup, the PDC World Cup with Wales, breaking into the top 32. Things are going nicely for you those early years in the PDC.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, I had a few good. I think I had a couple of good years, and then I think I had a bad year after that, and then I kind of picked up again. It's kind of been up and down, really. But yeah, I mean, as I said, I've done okay so far. I've qualified for a few TV tournaments over the years and got into most things, but I still think I haven't quite done as well as maybe I should have. But hopefully I can kind of continue to do better, really, the more I get on.
I want to come on to that great World Championship run that you had, the 2018 World Championship a couple of years ago now, but in the build up to that tournament you hadn't qualified. You had to go through the PDPA qualifier, the last chance to get into the tournament. How were you feeling going into that qualifier, knowing that if you wanted to carry on that run of being at Ali Pali every year that you'd been going on, you'd have to do well in the qualifier?
Yeah, that was another mad time, really, as well. I obviously failed to qualify through the rankings, and I was absolutely gutted. It took me a while to get over that, to be honest. And then I knew I obviously had the qualifiers coming up, but I wasn't really, to be honest, I wasn't expecting to get through, because it's such a lottery that day. I mean, everyone's going there to get through those spots, and you just never know what's going to happen on the day. I was just kind of praying things would kind of go well for me, and thankfully they did. I mean, it was in Milton Keynes, a qualifier, And I mean, I felt good from the moment I woke up in the morning. I really, from that moment on, I kind of thought, well, you never know, I might have a chance today. And I played brilliant darts all day. Obviously got through it well. I nearly didn't get through because I lost to Brendan Dolan in the actual last game to get through. But luckily there was a kind of a third place playoff, as it was 3 spots that year. Won that, and then obviously I went on to have a fantastic World Championship then, which is something I'll never forget.
Yeah, what a run it was, going all the way to the semi-finals. Some big performances that year as well. The one that obviously jumps off the page, it's got to be that one against Peter Wright, the second seed at the time, 107 average, 4-1 win against him. Is that the best you think you've played on stage?
It's not the best. I've actually had a better average in the World Series against Dimitri van der Berg. I think I had 109 when I beat him. But as in the best, as in feeling-wise, 100%, because obviously I was going into that game as a massive underdog. I don't think really anyone expected me to win. I think Peter was number 2 at the time. And yeah, I don't think anyone gave me any chance of winning, really. And everything just happened for me that night. Everything I was aiming for was going in, and I felt great. And that was definitely a night to remember.
And you look at that quarter of the draw, a lot of the big names were falling. Of course, you were the one that put out the biggest name in that quarter, Peter Wright, and make it all the way to the semi-finals, going up against Phil Taylor in what was his last tournament, last World Championship. What do you remember about the build-up to playing against Phil Taylor in the biggest game of your career?
Yeah, it was massive. I think it was a bit one step too far for me playing Phil in his last World Championships. I think it was. I obviously wanted to beat him, and I think I tried way too hard. I think all day I was thinking that I could be the last person to beat him in the World Championships, and I kind of ended up putting myself off a little bit going into it. And I still played really well against him, but the doubles let me down big time. Every time I was on a double, I'd start thinking a bit too much and went a bit edgy and stuff. But it's an experience that I'll remember forever. I mean, even Phil giving me the board after the game is something I'll treasure as well. So it was a massive experience for me.
2018, a few more milestones that you tick off along the way, playing in the World Series, the World Championship. The next one, you had another decent run. You put out Daryl Gurney, so picking up another scout. But coming into 2019, could you expect that maybe your form was going to drop like it maybe has done over the last 12-18 months?
No, I didn't. I mean, I kind of thought after that, obviously the semi-final run, I kind of thought I was going to kick on from there. And obviously, as you say, I did well again in the World Championship after it. But I've just seemed to struggle on the floor. I think when I've qualified for TV tournaments, I've done well, but it's that floor form that's really let me down. And obviously, if you're struggling on the floor, then you're not going to qualify for these TV tournaments. And that's something I really need to put right. I need to start performing better on these floor tournaments to get in these major ones. Because when I do qualify for these major ones, I seem to do okay. But obviously, the main bit starts on the floor. That's where you have to start playing well. Otherwise, you're not going to stay up there in the rankings, really. Yeah,
absolutely. And you've had some tough times on the floor, and with Dart Connect now, obviously everyone can see all the games, see how people are getting on. And you had the 48 average in one game last year. Was that the lowest point for you last year, do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't. That was a bad. I really should have entered that day. I wasn't feeling right at all. I was having like dizzy spells, and also I should have really pulled out. I don't know what I really was expecting to play like, because I felt terrible, but I just thought I can't pull out because my name's in the hat and stuff. So, I mean, obviously it's a bit embarrassing having such a low average, but it wasn't really something I was that fussed about afterwards, because I just couldn't play darts that day. There was no point me even turning up. But that kind of knocked me a little bit, because obviously, as you say, with Darts Connect, people will start reading into that and saying that, how bad you're playing or whatever. But that kind of knocked me a bit, and it kind of, for the tournaments after that, I kind of struggled for a bit and stuff. And then that's when I started kind of not enjoying it so much, and then I didn't really want to go to tournaments. But I'm in a lot better place now. I'm really enjoying darts again and stuff, and it's something I got to put right now. I need to try and climb back up these rankings. Obviously, I'm in danger of losing my tour card, which is something I definitely don't want to do. But I mean, I still know my game's there. I just need to try and get a bit more focus and get back on it, really, and start climbing back up these rankings and doing well in all these tournaments.
Yeah, and it's good to hear that you're feeling better about your game now. And this year, especially, you've started to pick up some decent results. You've had a last 16 on the floor, qualified for a European Tour event these early few months that we've seen. But obviously, with the lockdown now, we're not quite sure when we're going to see proper darts, ranking darts come back. So for you, particularly 60th in the order of merit at the moment, that must be a little bit worrying for you on a personal level. What's going to happen really with the rest of the year?
Yeah, it is a bit of a worry. I mean, it's sort of the uncertainty about it. Obviously, nobody knows when we're going to be back playing. Obviously, the PDC have got a massive headache in deciding how they're going to work out the rankings and stuff like that, because, you know, obviously, like you say, people in my situation who I kind of need to play these events to kind of keep my tour card. But obviously, we can't play nothing at the minute. But I've just got to keep practicing, and that's what I'm doing really at home now. I'm putting the hours in, not really knowing when we're going to be back, but for when we do come back, hopefully I'll be ready. We'll see what happens with. I honestly don't know how they're going to work it all out, but I'm just going to have to do the best I can when we do get back playing.
Definitely. And lastly, away from the darts, we know you're a big Liverpool fan. So you must be a little bit disappointed about that as well, because it looked like Liverpool were on course for a first league title in a long time.
Yeah, that's a bit of a disaster as well. I think all my mates are winding me up over that, which isn't helping either. But yeah, well, that's another. I don't know what's going to happen there. I mean, I even think now they're on about if it does end up getting played and stuff behind closed doors. I kind of feel the moment's gone a little bit, because you're building up to it, and we were so close to winning the league, and now there's this massive gap in between. But I don't know what's going to happen. We'll just have to see. But all my mates have let me know about it anyway, so I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, Jamie, it's a pleasure to chat to you. Thank you very much for taking the time to have a chat with us, and we wish you all the best for the rest of the year and when things get going again.
Yeah, no problem at all, buddy. Thank you.